Welcome back to Void of Fears. Before we jump into today's story, I've got to ask for a quick favour. If you could smash that like button, drop a comment below, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. It seriously makes a huge difference. YouTube's algorithm loves that stuff, and it pushes my videos to new viewers who might dig these stories too. I really appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to do that. It means the world to me and helps keep this channel growing. Alright, enough of me rambling. Let's dive into today's story. You think you know the story of the Promised Planet, the miracle mission backed by SpaceX and NASA that promised humanity a second home. Every press conference, every celebration, every triumph. It was all a carefully orchestrated lie to hide the war that happened out there. What you're about to hear cost 3 people their careers and 1 person their life to bring to light. This is the real story of the Providence mission, compiled from leaked black box recordings, helmet cam footage, and classified transmissions that were never meant to see the light of day. February 14th, 2025, Kennedy Space Center. The launch of the Providence colony ship was broadcast to over 2 billion people worldwide. It was Valentine's Day, and the media loved the symbolism. Humanity's love letter to the cosmos, they called it. Captain Dylan Foster stood at the base of the craft, waving to cameras he couldn't even see past the glare of the floodlights. 38 years old, former Air Force Special Operations pilot, decorated veteran of Afghanistan. He'd been personally selected by NASA Administrator Bill Nelson for his tactical expertise and his ability to stay calm under fire. Foster had logged over 300 combat missions before he ever applied to the space program. The crew of 6 had been chosen just as carefully. Every single one of them had military training. That wasn't public knowledge, of course. The press releases emphasized their scientific credentials. Lieutenant Rebecca Ortiz, Marine Corps botanist and weapons specialist. Thomas Whitman, Navy SEAL turned mechanical engineer from MIT. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Air Force medical officer and combat medic. Lieutenant Emma Hartley, Army communications officer and intelligence analyst. Colonel Ivan Petrov, Russian Spetsnaz cosmonaut, a joint mission symbol of international cooperation. What the public didn't know was that the Providence carried enough weaponry to outfit a small military unit. 3 AR-15 rifles, 6 Sig Sauer M18 pistols, 2,000 rounds of ammunition, flashbangs, smoke grenades. NASA called it Standard Security Protocol for Unknown Environments. In hindsight, it wasn't nearly enough. Their destination was Kepler 442b, a planet discovered by the Kepler Space Telescope back in 2015. 1,200 light-years from Earth, orbiting an orange dwarf star in the constellation Lyra. Every analysis suggested it was perfect. The right size, the right distance from its sun, the right atmospheric composition. They'd renamed it New Eden for the press releases. The technology that would get them there was theoretical breakthrough made real. An Alcubierre-type warp drive that could bend space-time itself. It had been developed in absolute secrecy, tested only in classified military facilities. The Providence would be the first manned faster-than-light spacecraft in human history. Foster's final interview before launch has been played thousands of times, but listen to it again knowing what you know now. Listen to the pause when the reporter asks him if he's afraid. Afraid? No. Cautious, yes. We're trained for anything. But you can't prepare for something you've never encountered. That's why we go. Someone has to be first. Someone has to be first. Those words would haunt NASA for years to come. The Providence launched at 7:33 in the morning. 16 days later, March 1st at 2:14 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, they achieved orbit around Kepler 442b. Foster's voice crackled across 200 trillion miles. Houston, the Providence has achieved stable orbit. Visual confirmation Kepler 442b is viable, beginning armed reconnaissance of Landing Zone Alpha. The control room in Houston erupted in cheers. Champagne corks popped. Administrator Nelson shook hands with the president over video call. They'd done it. Humanity had reached the stars. The celebration lasted exactly 17 days. March 18th, during what should have been a routine patrol transmission, all communications ceased. Not gradually, not with static build-up or system degradation. One moment Foster was describing the local vegetation, and the next, nothing. Absolute silence. Michael Brennan was Deputy Director of Mission Control at the time. He's retired now, living in a small apartment in Florida, and he agreed to speak with us on condition of anonymity. His hands shook as he described that night. I was in the room when the last transmission came through. Not the sanitized version they released to the press. The real one. There was automatic weapons fire. People screaming. Then, Foster's voice, louder than I'd ever heard it, yelling, "Fall back to the ship! Fall back!" That's when armed guards physically escorted us out of mission control. They cut the feed and locked the room down. I've been with NASA for 32 years. I'd never seen anything like it. The public was told it was a routine communications blackout due to solar interference. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, the Pentagon was preparing a rapid response military team to launch the Kepler 442b. The mission was approved, personnel was selected, equipment was loaded. Then, 48 hours before launch, the president himself cancelled it with a direct order. No explanation was ever given. In May, 2 months after the last real communication, President Biden addressed the nation and declared the Providence mission a complete success. The White House released photos of the thriving colony, images later proven to be computer-generated. News networks showed smiling families of crew members reading letters from their loved ones on New Eden. All lies. The families knew, though. Beth Foster, Dylan's wife, told friends that something was wrong with the letters she received. "Dylan never called me darling," she said. "In 15 years of marriage, not once. Whoever wrote those letters didn't know my husband." The conspiracy theories started on Reddit and 4chan within weeks. Some claimed to have intercepted fragments of distress signals. Others said they had sources inside NASA. They were all dismissed as cranks and attention seekers. The moderators deleted their posts, their accounts were suspended. 3 of those theorists died in separate accidents within 6 months. Car crash, house fire, suicide allegedly. In December 2025, the International Space Station picked up unusual deep space readings, coming from Kepler 442b's direction. Energy signatures that made no sense, moving in ways that violated known physics. The data was immediately classified. The astronauts who recorded it were ordered to never speak about it. And then, 6 months ago, everything changed. An anonymous source leaked the Providence's black box data to WikiLeaks. 17 terabytes of video footage, audio logs, telemetry data, and helmet cam recordings. Within hours, it had been downloaded by millions. Within days, government agents were raiding data centers and arresting anyone associated with its distribution. But it was too late. The truth was out. What you're about to hear is compiled from those leaked recordings. I should warn you, some of this footage is graphic. People died out there. Good people who thought they were building humanity's future. They were wrong. Captain's log, March 3rd, 2025, 11:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Day 1, on the surface. Dylan Foster's voice is excited in this recording, almost boyish. You can hear the smile in his words. "We did it, Houston. The Providence touched down in the Valley System at 1700 hours, local time. And I'm standing on the surface of Kepler 442b. I'm standing on an alien world and I can breathe the air." The helmet cam footage from that first day is stunning. The landscape looks almost Earth-like, rolling hills covered in vegetation, a sky that shifts from deep purple at the horizon to almost black overhead. The plants are wrong though. They photosynthesize like Earth plants, but they use different pigments. Everything has this faint bioluminescent quality, especially at dusk. The crew exits the Providence in full tactical gear, ballistic vests over their flight suits, weapons holstered, but accessible. Standard procedure for an unknown environment. Foster assigned patrol routes immediately. Ortiz and Whitman took the perimeter. Petrov and Hartley set up motion sensors around the landing site. Dr. Tanaka began atmospheric analysis. Temperature is 72 degrees Fahrenheit, Foster says in his log. Gravity is 0.92 Earth standard. Atmospheric composition is surprisingly close to home. 21% oxygen, 77% nitrogen. Trace gases. If you didn't know better, you'd think you were in Northern California. They spent that first day establishing base camp. The Providence had landed in a natural clearing roughly 200 meters across, surrounded by the towering tree-like organisms that dominated the landscape. Foster ordered defensive positions established, sandbags, sightlines, overlapping fields of fire, old habits from combat zones on Earth. The crew celebrated that first night. You can see it in the video logs. They planted an American flag, popped freeze-dried champagne, took photos with Earth visible as a pale blue dot in the sky. Thomas Whitman played guitar badly. Rebecca Ortiz laughed at his singing. They were young and accomplished and standing on an alien world. For a few hours, everything was perfect, but Foster couldn't sleep. His personal log, recorded at 1:14 a.m., shows him on patrol with Colonel Petrov. Colonel Petrov and I took a walk tonight. We couldn't sleep. Too much adrenaline. Too much excitement. The stars here. Houston. You can see the Milky Way from the outside. It's a band of light stretching across the entire sky. Makes you feel small. Makes you feel like we're finally where we belong. Then his voice changes. The excitement drains away. We found something about half a kilometer northeast of camp. At first, I thought it was a rock formation, some kind of natural monument. But when we got closer, Houston, this thing is artificial. I'm certain of it. The surface is smooth as polished glass, perfectly symmetrical, exactly 3.7 meters tall. It's made of something that looks like stone, but Tom's going to analyze samples tomorrow. We marked the location and returned to camp. There's a pause in the recording. You can hear the alien wind, a sound like nothing on Earth, a deep, resonant hum that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. Petrov wanted to blow it up. He was serious. Pulled out his sidearm and said, "In Russia, we destroy what we do not understand before it destroys us." I ordered him to stand down. It's probably nothing. Some kind of volcanic formation with unusual crystalline structure. Right? You can hear the doubt in Foster's voice. Day 4 is when everything started to unravel. Dr. Tanaka's analysis of the stone samples came back wrong. The material wouldn't carbon date. Its atomic structure didn't match anything in any database. It wasn't radioactive, wasn't chemically reactive, wasn't anything they had a name for. Foster organized an armed reconnaissance. Himself, Whitman, and Ortiz. The helmet cam footage from this patrol is some of the most watched video in the leaked files. They move through the forest in tactical formation, weapons at low ready, scanning for threats. The bioluminescent plants cast everything in a faint blue-green glow. Strange sounds echo through the trees. Not animal sounds exactly, but not mechanical either. Organic, but wrong. They find 11 more structures arranged in a perfect circle around the first one. Every single one identical. Exactly 3.7 meters tall. Exactly equidistant from each other. The circle is so perfect you could plot it with a compass. Whitman's voice on the audio. "Captain, these things are humming." Low frequency, below normal human hearing, but my equipment's picking it up, and they're warm. Ambient temperature is 72 degrees, but these things are registering at 98.6. Foster steps closer to one of the structures. In the helmet cam footage, you can see him reach out, hesitate, then press his palm against the surface. Houston, this is Captain Foster. I'm in contact with one of the structures. The surface it's vibrating, very slight, but I can feel it. And it's definitely warm, body temperature warm. There's a moment of silence. Then Thomas Whitman's voice, tight with tension. Captain, I'm putting rounds into this thing right now. Negative, Foster snaps. We don't know what... The gunshot is deafening on the audio. Whitman fired his rifle point blank at the base of the nearest structure. The camera catches the muzzle flash, the weapons recoil, the brass casing ejecting. The bullet ricochets off the smooth surface without leaving a mark. Cease fire, Foster is shouting now. Tom, cease fire immediately. But Whitman empties half a magazine into the structure. 30 rounds of 5.56 NATO ammunition, close enough that he could touch the barrel to the stone. Every single bullet ricochets harmlessly away. The structure doesn't crack, doesn't chip, doesn't even show a scuff mark. Fall back to base, Foster orders. Tactical retreat. Now. They run. The helmet cam footage bounces wildly as they sprint through the forest. Behind them you can hear something. A sound like metal scraping on metal, deep and resonant. The humming from the structures grows louder, changing pitch. Back at base camp, Foster immediately orders defensive positions reinforced. They spend the rest of the day building sandbag walls, establishing firing positions, checking and rechecking weapons. Lieutenant Hartley sets up additional motion sensors. Dr. Tanaka inventories their medical supplies. Colonel Petrov pulls Foster aside. The helmet cam catches their conversation. Captain, we should leave. Tonight. Load the ship and go. We've been here 4 days, Ivan. We need more time to... 4 days too long. This place is wrong. You feel it. I see it in your eyes. You know this mission is cursed. Foster's jaw tightens. We're not running from some rocks in the forest. We take a vote. Democratic process. The vote happens that evening. The footage shows all 6 crew members standing around their makeshift operations table, weapons laid out in front of them like a military briefing. Foster asks for all in favor of continuing the mission to raise their hand. 5 hands go up. Only Petrov keeps his down. Motion carries, Foster says. We stay. We establish elevated threat protocols. No one goes anywhere alone. No one goes outside the perimeter after dark. Weapons condition, 1 at all times. Petrov stares at him for a long moment. Then, in heavily accented English, in Russia, we have saying, when forest is too quiet, predator is near. This forest, Captain Foster, is too quiet. That night, every member of the crew woke at exactly 3:33 a.m. All 6 of them in separate quarters, no communication between them. They all reported the same dream, standing in a massive underground chamber. Walls covered in symbols they couldn't read, something enormous moving in the darkness, and the overwhelming certainty that they were being hunted. Dr. Tanaka tried to rationalize it. Stress dreams, shared psychological pressure, the mind's way of processing fear in an alien environment. But when Foster asked them to describe the chamber, they all gave identical descriptions down to the smallest detail. The same symbols, the same dimensions, the same feeling of something massive and ancient, watching them from the dark. Houston, Foster recorded in his log that night, we're all having the same nightmare. Not similar dreams, identical. That's not psychology. That's something else. Request immediate guidance on psychological warfare, countermeasures and possible hostile telepathic or electromagnetic influence. The response from Houston never came. Communications were becoming increasingly sporadic. Messages took hours to arrive, sometimes not at all. Foster assumed it was interference from the planet's magnetosphere. He was wrong. Day 11 was when they lost Lieutenant Emma Hartley. She didn't report for morning duty. Violation of military protocol, unthinkable for someone with Hartley's training. Foster immediately organized the search team. Himself, Ortiz, Whitman. They spread out in a grid pattern, checking every meter of the camp perimeter. Thomas Whitman found her 3 hours later. The helmet cam footage is difficult to watch. Hartley is standing at the edge of the forest at the base of one of the structures. Her sidearm is drawn and held in a perfect two-handed grip, aimed at absolutely nothing. She's been standing there for at least 3 hours based on the rigor in her muscles. Her eyes are open, unblinking. "Emma!" Foster approaches slowly, weapon raised but not aimed at her. Lieutenant Hartley respond. Nothing. She doesn't move, doesn't blink, doesn't acknowledge their presence. Foster reaches out and shakes her shoulder. Hartley's head snaps toward him so fast it looks inhuman. Her eyes focus on his face. "It showed me." Her voice is flat, emotionless. "It showed me what this place really is. What's coming for us." "What did it show you?" Foster asks. "Who showed you?" Hartley's eyes drift back to the structure. "The planet." "It's not a planet, Captain. It's a trap. And we walked right into it." Then she collapses. They carry her back to the medical bay where Dr. Tanaka runs every test she can think of. Blood work normal. Brain scans normal. No drugs in her system. No physical trauma. But Hartley won't speak another word. She just sits in her quarters, staring at the wall, occasionally writing symbols that match the ones from the shared dream. Foster confines her to quarters under armed watch. Dr. Tanaka stays with her in shifts. Day 13, morning patrol. This is where the footage gets truly disturbing. Whitman's helmet cam records the structures again. They're doing a routine perimeter check, weapons at the ready, when Ortiz stops dead. "Captain, the structures. They're taller." Foster pulls out the laser rangefinder. The readout shows 3.9 meters. "That's impossible," Whitman says. "We measured them at 3.7. I checked 3 times. Foster has them review the photographic evidence on his tablet. Timestamped images from day 4 clearly show the structures at 3.7 meters. Images from this morning, 3.9 meters. 0.2 meters of growth in 9 days. "What the hell grows stone?" Ortiz whispers. They return to base. Foster immediately orders the camp fortified with every resource they have. More sandbags, deeper firing positions. They drag equipment from the Providence to create barriers. Whitman rigs claymore mines at the perimeter. Petrov sets up kill zones with overlapping fields of fire. They're building for a siege. That night, 3:33 a.m., all motion sensors trigger simultaneously. The helmet cam footage from this moment has been analysed frame by frame by military strategists and has become a case study in close quarters defence. Foster and his crew react with military precision, grabbing weapons, moving to assigned positions, establishing sightlines in under 20 seconds. "Contact, all personnel, weapons free." Foster's voice is steady despite the adrenaline. "Sound off. Ortiz, south wall. Whitman, east position. Petrov, north corridor. Tanaka, west perimeter." They wait in the darkness, fingers on triggers, scanning for targets through night vision optics. The motion sensors are screaming. Something is out there. Multiple somethings moving through their perimeter. But they can't see anything. Foster makes the call. Deploy flares. 3, 2, 1, mark. 4 flares arc into the night sky, burning magnesium bright, turning the darkness into harsh white daylight. The clearing is empty. Absolutely empty. Nothing moving, nothing there. But all 6 crew members woke up at the exact same second. And the motion sensors didn't malfunction. The timestamps proved they triggered in sequence. Something moving in a circle around the camp. Something invisible. Foster's voice in his log that night is shaking. "Houston, we have contact with unknown hostiles. I repeat, contact with unknown hostiles. They're using advanced stealth technology or something else. Request immediate extraction. Request military support. Request any goddamn help you can send." But Houston doesn't respond. The communications are completely dead now. They're alone, day 16. This is when the mission stopped being exploration and became survival. Thomas Whitman disappeared during a routine patrol. His last radio transmission was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon local time, just a routine check-in from the southern structure site. When he didn't respond to the next scheduled contact, Foster organized an immediate search and rescue. They found him at sunrise. The helmet cam footage shows Whitman standing waist-deep in a stream about 2 kilometers from camp. His rifle is floating next to him in the water. His eyes are open but unfocused. He's been standing there for at least 8 hours. Foster wades into the water and grabs him. "Tom, what's your status? Tom, talk to me." Whitman turns slowly, and when his eyes focus on Foster's face, he smiles. It's not a human smile. The muscles move wrong. "My brother called me home, Captain. He said they're all waiting underground. Everyone who ever came here, they're all down there waiting for us to join them." Rebecca Ortiz splashes forward. "Captain, Tom's brother died in 2019. Car accident in Denver." "I know," Foster says quietly. "Tom, your brother is dead. Who did you see?" "He's not dead. None of them are dead. They're just changed, improved. And they want us to come home too." Then, Whitman lunges at Foster with inhuman strength. One moment he's standing there docile, the next he's attacking with speed and power that shouldn't be possible for someone who's been standing in cold water for 8 hours. He gets his hands around Foster's throat and squeezes. "Come home, Dylan. Come home with us." Petrov tackles Whitman from the side, and the three of them go down in the stream. The helmet cam footage shows a brutal struggle. Whitman fighting with strength that seems impossible. Foster choking and trying to break free. Petrov attempting to restrain him without seriously injuring him. "Don't shoot," Foster manages to gasp. "We need him alive." It takes all three of them, Foster, Petrov and Ortiz, to finally restrain Whitman. They zip-tie his hands and feet and carry him back to camp. Dr. Tanaka sedates him heavily and confines him to the medical bay. When Whitman wakes up 6 hours later, he has no memory of the night. No memory of seeing his dead brother. No memory of attacking his commanding officer. But his hands are covered in soil and some kind of organic residue that Dr. Tanaka can't identify. It's oily, slightly luminescent, and it won't wash off no matter what they try. Foster makes his discovery that evening. He's reviewing the ground-penetrating radar data, trying to understand the geology of the landing site, when he sees something that makes his blood run cold. The entire valley floor is hollow. Not partially hollow. Not cave systems. Completely hollow. The Providence and their entire base camp are sitting on a shell of rock, maybe 20 meters thick. Beneath that is nothing. Empty space. Or something the radar can't penetrate. "We're not on a planet," Foster records in his log, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're on top of something. The whole valley is artificial, a lid, and I think whatever's underneath knows we're here." He calls an emergency briefing, shows them the data. The crew's reaction is captured on the helmet cams. Ortiz goes pale. Dr. Tanaka starts hyperventilating. Petrov simply nods like he expected this all along. "We leave. Tonight. Now." Petrov's voice is firm. "Load the ship, emergency departure, burn every gram of fuel to get back to Earth if we must." For once, no one argues. They spend the next 6 hours loading the Providence for emergency launch. The plan is simple. Lift off at dawn, achieve orbit, and run the warp drive at maximum power back toward Earth. They'll be operating outside mission parameters possibly damaging the ship, but none of them care anymore. They just want to leave. Day 18, 5 in the morning. Launch sequence initiated. Foster is in the pilot seat. Ortiz handles navigation. Dr. Tanaka monitors life support. Petrov is on weapon systems. They've armed every defensive system the Providence has. Primary engines online, Foster announces. Fuel flow optimal. Reactor temperature nominal. All systems green across the board. He initiates the startup sequence. The reactor hums to life. Fuel pumps engage. The engine bells heat up. Ignition in 3, 2, 1, mark. Nothing happens. Negative ignition, Foster says, voice tight. Recycling fuel pumps, attempting restart. Again, nothing. The engines are receiving fuel. The reactor is producing power. The ignition system is firing. But the chemical reaction that should produce thrust simply won't start. They try 17 times over the next 3 hours. Every attempt fails. The ship is mechanically perfect. Every system checks out. But it's like the laws of physics have stopped working inside the engine bells. "It's not letting us leave," Ortiz whispers. That's when the figures appear outside. The external cameras pick them up first. Human shapes moving through the forest towards the Providence. Foster switches through the camera feeds, his hands moving frantically over the controls. Contact, multiple hostiles approaching from the tree line. Petrov activates the weapon systems. I have visual. 20, no 30 contacts, moving in tactical formation. The figures step into the clearing, into the light of the Providence's external floods. They're wearing flight suits. NASA flight suits. "Oh my God," Dr. Tanaka breathes. That's Emma and Tom." The helmet cam footage confirms it. Lieutenant Emma Hartley and Thomas Whitman are outside the ship, walking toward them with perfect military precision. Behind them are more figures in flight suits. Dozens of them, all moving in synchronized steps. "That's impossible," Foster says. "Emma and Tom are in the medical bay under sedation. I personally locked them in." Ortiz runs to check. The helmet cam footage follows her down the corridor, through the ship, to the medical bay. The door is still locked, still sealed from the outside. When Ortiz opens it, Hartley and Whitman are there, still unconscious, still restrained in their beds, sedatives still flowing through their IVs. But they're also outside, walking toward the ship. "Captain!" Petrov's voice is sharp. "More contacts. At least 60 now. They all look like us, like the crew." Foster switches the external cameras to thermal imaging. The figures outside are registering at 98.6 degrees. Human body temperature. They're breathing. Their hearts are beating. But the originals are still inside the ship. Permission to engage? Ortiz has returned to her weapons station, her voice steady despite what she's seen. Foster stares at the monitors. The figures that look like his crew are now surrounding the Providence. More keep emerging from the forest, hundreds of them, all perfect copies. "Light them up," he says quietly. The Providence's defensive systems come online. Automated turrets, originally designed to clear debris during landing, track and fire. Heavy caliber rounds rip into the approaching figures. The copies of Hartley and Whitman jerk and stumble as rounds impact their bodies, but they don't fall, don't bleed. They just keep walking forward, wounds closing as fast as they're made. "Switch to explosive rounds," Foster orders. Petrov complies. The next salvo rips several of the figures apart. Literal dismemberment. Arms and legs blown off. They keep coming. The severed limbs crawl across the ground. The dismembered torsos pull themselves forward with their arms. "Fall back!" Foster is shouting now. "Everyone into the command module. Seal the bulkheads." They run through the ship, slamming pressure doors behind them, establishing a defensive position in the most hardened part of the Providence. Foster personally welds the final door shut with a plasma torch. The sound starts 30 seconds later. Scraping, scratching, coming from the hull, from every direction at once. The copies are climbing the ship. Security footage from the external cameras shows them swarming over the Providence like ants. Dozens of them, all wearing crew member faces. They're trying to find a way in. Hull integrity holding, Dr. Tanaka reports. The armor's solid. They can't breach it. They don't need to, Petrov says quietly. They just need to wait. We have food for 60 days, water for 90. Then we starve or we go outside. Foster slams his fist against the console. We're not dying here. We're not giving up. There has to be a way. The lights go out. Emergency lighting kicks in immediately, bathing everything in red. But the main reactor has shut down. Just like the engines, it's mechanically functional, but simply stopped working. Life support switching to batteries, Dr. Tanaka announces. We have approximately 48 hours of air. In the darkness of the command module, lit only by red emergency lights and the glow of computer screens, the crew of the Providence accepts their reality. They're not leaving. They're not escaping. All they can do now is survive as long as possible and hope that someone receives their final transmission. Foster begins to record. Day 21, 41 hours of battery power remaining. Captain Dylan Foster sits alone in the command module of the Providence. The rest of his crew is gone, not dead, but worse than dead. He can hear them in the other sections of the ship, moving through corridors that should be sealed, calling his name with voices that sound almost right but not quite. His personal log for this day is the most watched piece of footage in the leaked files. Foster's face is gaunt, his eyes red from lack of sleep. He hasn't eaten in 3 days. His hands shake as he adjusts the camera. This is Captain Dylan Foster, United States Air Force NASA mission commander of the Providence colony ship. Current date by Earth calendar is, I think it's April 6th, 2025. I've lost track. Time works differently here. He takes a shaky breath. If anyone receives this, I need you to understand something. Everything we told you about Kepler 442b was wrong. The planet isn't dormant. It isn't waiting to be colonized. It's hunting. It's been hunting for a very long time. Foster pulls up data files on his monitor, streams of information, graphs, timestamps. I accessed our Deep Space Probe archives, the classified ones. Kepler 442b has been visited before, multiple times. First contact was in 1987, a Soviet mission that was never publicly acknowledged. They sent 8 cosmonauts. All 8 went silent after 19 days. He scrolls through more files. 1993, a joint European Space Agency mission, 12 personnel, silent after 11 days. 2008, Chinese National Space Administration, 15 people, silent after 6 days. 2019. Another NASA mission, kept classified even from most of the agency. 8 personnel, silent after 4 days. Foster looks directly into the camera. We weren't the first team sent here. We were the 5th, and every single mission before us was covered up, buried under national security classifications. NASA knew, the Pentagon knew. They sent us anyway. There's a sound outside the command module, something scraping against the door. Foster's hand moves to his sidearm, the only weapon he has left. They took my crew, not killed them. Took them, copied them. I don't know how, some kind of biological mimicry. Or maybe they're using technology so advanced it looks like magic to us. But whatever came out of the forest wearing Emma's face, wearing Tom's face, that's not them anymore. He shows footage on his tablet, security camera recordings from inside the ship. It shows his crew walking through corridors, but they move in perfect synchronization, their steps matching exactly. Their heads turn at the same angle. They blink at the same time. The copies are coordinated, like they're controlled by a single intelligence, like they're parts of something bigger, and they want me to join them. Foster's voice drops to a whisper. I can hear them outside. They're calling me. using my crew's voices. They know things only my crew would know. Personal details, private jokes, memories. They're trying to convince me that everything's fine, that they're still themselves, that I should just open the door and come out. He shows his arm to the camera. There's a crude bandage wrapped around his forearm, blood seeping through. I cut myself yesterday. Wanted to make sure I'm still me, still human, still bleeding red. That's how far gone I am. I'm cutting myself to prove I'm real. The scraping sound gets louder. Now there are voices too, muffled by the sealed door, but clearly audible. "Dylan, it's Rebecca. Please open the door. You're scaring us." "Captain Foster, this is Lieutenant Hartley. You need to let us help you. You're not thinking clearly." "Dylan, buddy, it's Tom. Come on, man. We're worried about you." Foster ignores them. He pulls up more files on his computer. I analyze the radio signals this planet has been broadcasting. They started in 2009, exactly when the Kepler Space Telescope discovered this world. The signals match human communications protocols. They're designed to attract us, to make this place look perfect, to make us think we found Eden. He shows thermal satellite imagery of Kepler 442b taken by the Providence before landing. The overlay shows the massive structures beneath the surface, geometric patterns, perfect angles, spanning the entire visible hemisphere. This isn't a planet, it's a machine, or something that built a machine, or something that is a machine. The structures we found on the surface, they're just the visible part. There's an entire complex underground spanning thousands of kilometers, and it's all connected, all part of one massive system. Foster's hands are shaking worse now. He fumbles a pill bottle from his pocket, military-grade stimulants, to keep him awake. He swallows 3 dry. I think the planet is a trap, a detector designed to identify and catalogue intelligent species. It finds spacefaring civilizations and lures them in, studies them, copies them, and then... He trails off, listening to the voices outside. "Dylan, please. Your daughter misses you. Lily needs her daddy to come home." Foster's face crumples at that. He puts his head in his hands. They know about Lily. They know everything, and the worst part is, some tiny part of me wants to believe them, wants to open that door and see if maybe, just maybe, that really is Rebecca out there. If maybe everything really is fine, and I'm just losing my mind from isolation and stress. He forces himself to look at the camera again, but I can't, because I've seen what they do. I've watched the copies absorb bullets without bleeding. I've seen severed limbs crawl across the ground. I've seen my crew standing in 2 places at once. Whatever is outside that door, it's not human anymore. It's wearing human skin, like a costume. Foster pulls up one final piece of footage, external camera view from 3 hours ago. It shows hundreds of figures standing in the clearing around the Providence. All of them are copies of the 6 crew members. Hundreds of Hartleys, hundreds of Whitmans, hundreds of Petrovs, Tanakas, Ortiz, and hundreds of Dylan Fosters, all staring up at the camera with identical smiles. They're preparing for something, I don't know what, but there are too many of them now, far more than could be created just from our crew. I think they're using our genetic templates to manufacture an army. He sets the tablet down and looks directly into the camera one last time. To whoever finds this, to NASA, to the military, to anyone, abort all missions to Kepler 442b. I don't care what signals you're receiving. I don't care what data looks promising. This place is death. It's a predator disguised as paradise. The pounding on the door gets louder, more violent. Send no more ships, send no rescue mission. Quarantine this entire sector of space. Because if you come here, you won't leave. You'll become part of whatever this thing is, part of its collection. Foster draws his sidearm, a 6 Sauer M18, 15 rounds in the magazine. He checks the chamber, loaded. I have 27 rounds left between me and whatever they've become. I'm down to my last battery pack, 18 hours of air remaining. Even if I could start the engines, I'm one person. I can't fly this ship alone. The voices outside change tone. They're not pleading anymore. They're commanding. Dylan Foster, open the door. This is not a request. Captain, you are in violation of mission protocols. Open the door immediately. Daddy needs to open the door now, or we'll be very disappointed. That last one, using his daughter's name, breaks something in Foster. His face goes hard. I'm sorry, Beth. I'm sorry I won't make it home. Tell Lily her daddy loved her more than anything. Tell her I fought like hell to get back to her. The door to the command module groans, metal bending. Something on the other side has stopped asking and started breaking through. Foster stands, weapon raised, aimed at the door. To whoever receives this transmission, I'm setting the black box to auto-eject on a trajectory back to Earth. It's the only system still functioning. With luck, it'll reach you in 18 months. With more luck, you'll listen. The door buckles inward. Hands, dozens of hands, pushing through the gap. Last message to Houston. Last message to Earth. Kepler 442b is hostile. I repeat, hostile planet. Do not come here. Do not send anyone else. Let this place die in the dark where it belongs. The hands rip the door off its hinges. Figures pour into the command module, all wearing the faces of Foster's crew, all moving with that same synchronized precision. They don't speak. They just smile as they advance. Foster opens fire. The muzzle flashes illuminate the command module in strobe light bursts. Brass casings clatter to the floor. The helmet cam footage, still recording from where Foster mounted it on the wall, captures everything. Foster is screaming as he fires. Not words, just raw fear and rage and desperation. He empties the magazine in 8 seconds. 15 rounds sent en masse into the advancing figures. They don't fall, don't slow. Wounds appear and close. Blood that isn't quite blood oozes and then reabsorbs. Empty click. Magazine spent. Foster drops the pistol and draws his combat knife. Goes down fighting. The copies swarm him. You can see the struggle in the helmet cam footage. Foster stabbing, slashing, fighting with everything he has. But there are too many. Far too many. They pull him down, and then, in the pile of bodies, something horrible happens. The copies part, creating a space in the center. Foster is on his knees, held by multiple hands. His face is bloody. His flight suit is torn. But he's alive. One of the copies, this one wearing Foster's own face, steps forward. It kneels down to Foster's eye level. "Hello, Dylan," it says with Foster's voice. "Welcome home." "No," Foster gasps. "No, I'm not. I won't." The copy that looks like Foster puts its hand on the real Foster's chest. "You already are." Foster's eyes widen in horror. He looks down at his chest where the copy is touching him. His flight suit is dissolving. No, changing. Transforming into the same material as the copy's clothing. His skin is taking on that same slightly wrong texture. No, 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 no. His struggles weaken. His eyes lose focus. And then, slowly, he stops fighting. The copies help him to his feet. The real Foster stands, movements now synchronized with the others. He turns to face the camera. His smile is identical to all the others. "Mission accomplished," he says calmly, returning to Earth with full crew complement. The helmet cam footage continues for another 17 hours. It shows the copies moving through the Providence, repairing systems, preparing the ship for launch. It shows them standing in perfect rows in the command module, all staring at nothing, all breathing in sync, and then, impossibly, the engines ignite. The ship that couldn't launch before roars to life without hesitation. The Providence lifts off, achieves orbit, and engages its warp drive. The last image from the helmet cam is the surface of Kepler 442b receding in the view screen. The massive structures are clearly visible from orbit now, geometric patterns covering the entire hemisphere, glowing with that same bioluminescent blue. Then the camera cuts to static as the warp drive activates. The black box ejected 72 seconds later, beginning its long journey back to Earth. The black box reached Earth orbit in August 2026. It was recovered by an automated NASA retrieval satellite and brought to a secure facility in Houston. For 68 hours, nobody knew what was on it. The data was encrypted with military-grade security. It took 3 teams working around the clock to break the encryption and access the files. Michael Brennan was there when they finally opened it. "I've worked for NASA for 32 years, he told us. I've seen things go wrong. Columbia, Challenger. I've watched good people die because of mistakes, because of budget cuts, because of bad luck. But this was different." He paused for a long moment, hands shaking. We watched the footage, all of it, 17 terabytes. Every helmet cam, every log, every second of Captain Foster's final days. When it was over, the room was silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. And then armed soldiers came in and took everything. The drives, the computers, our phones. They made us sign non-disclosure agreements under threat of treason charges. They told us if we ever spoke about what we saw, we'd disappear. But by then, it was already too late for some people. SpaceX had launched the New Horizons mission to Kepler 442b 3 months before the black box was recovered. Elon Musk had dismissed early warnings from NASA, calling them attempts to monopolize space exploration. The New Horizons carried 12 people, all former military, heavily armed, prepared for hostile contact. When NASA tried to recall the mission, after viewing the Providence footage, SpaceX refused. "Elon wouldn't listen," Brennan said. "We sent him the footage, showed him what happened to Foster's crew. He watched 5 minutes and turned it off. Said it was probably psychological warfare from the government trying to shut down private space exploration. Said his people were better trained, better equipped. Said they'd succeed where NASA failed." The New Horizons went silent on day 6. Last transmission was a frantic distress call, automatic weapons fire, screaming, and then the phrase, "They're inside the ship," before communications ceased. The European Space Agency launched Columbus the coup 4 months later, despite the New Horizons disaster. Despite the classified warnings, they sent a tactical response team, experienced military personnel, advanced weapon systems, orders to establish a secure perimeter and defend at all costs, silent on day 2. China's Tianwen-3 followed 8 months after that. They deployed People's Liberation Army Special Forces with authorization to use any force necessary. No communications after initial landing. In less than 2 years, 4 separate missions had been sent to Kepler 442b. 34 people total, all military trained, all heavily armed, all prepared for hostile contact, all lost. The families knew something was wrong, Brennan continued. They were getting letters, video messages from their loved ones. But the families could tell. Little details were off. Phrases that weren't quite right. Smiles that didn't reach the eyes. Beth Foster, Dylan's wife, received regular video messages supposedly from her husband. In them, Dylan talked about the thriving colony, the beautiful landscape, how much he missed home but how important the work was. The videos were perfect, high quality, well lit, showing Dylan in his NASA flight suit with the Providence visible in the background. But Beth knew it wasn't him. Dylan had a scar on his left hand, she told a reporter who was later silenced. Got it when he was 8 years old, fell off his bike. It's in every photo we have of him. But in the videos from Kepler 442b, there's no scar. His left hand is perfect, unblemished. She went to NASA. They told her the scar must have healed. She went to the press. Her story was killed before publication. She hired a lawyer. The lawyer dropped her case the next day, citing classified national security concerns. 3 weeks later, Beth Foster died in a house fire. Electrical fault, according to the official report. Her daughter Lily was at her grandmother's house that night. She was 7 years old. The official story remains unchanged to this day. The Providence mission was a complete success. Captain Foster and his crew established the first permanent human colony on another world. They're thriving. They send regular updates. Everything is fine. But the leaked black box files tell a different story. In December 2025, the International Space Station picked up unusual signals from Kepler 442b's direction, high-energy emissions moving in ways that violated known physics. The astronauts on the ISS were ordered to never speak about it. The data was classified immediately. 3 of those astronauts have since died in separate accidents. Dr. Jill Tarter, one of the founders of SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, agreed to analyze the signal data for this documentary. What she found was disturbing. These signals are artificial. Absolutely artificial. They're structured, modulated, designed to carry information, and they've been increasing in frequency and power exponentially over the last 18 months. She pulled up spectral analysis on her computer. What's more disturbing is the frequency bands. These signals are broadcasting on every communications frequency humans use. GPS, cellular, satellite, Wi-Fi. It's like something is learning our technology, learning how we communicate, practicing. The signals are reaching Earth. They've been reaching Earth for months. Radio telescopes around the world have picked them up. The data is immediately classified when it appears. Scientists who ask questions find their funding cut, their research shut down, their careers destroyed. But some of the data is leaked, and what it shows is terrifying. The signals contain information, not random noise, actual structured data. And when decoded, they appear to be personnel records, names, vital statistics, genetic information. The names match the crew members of all 4 missions to Kepler 442b. But there are hundreds of entries for each person, hundreds of Dylan Fosters, hundreds of Emma Hartleys, hundreds of Thomas Whitmans, all with unique identifiers, all labelled as active units. 3 months ago, NORAD detected multiple objects entering Earth's solar system, coming from the direction of Kepler 442b, moving at speeds that should be impossible without warp technology. The military scrambled to intercept, sent radio challenges, demanded identification. The response came back in perfect English. USS Providence requesting clearance for landing. Mission parameters complete. Crew returning home. But the Providence was destroyed. Its wreckage is still on Kepler 442b. The ship responding to hails can't be the Providence. When NORAD challenged this, the response was immediate. We are the Kepler missions, all 34 personnel, returning as ordered, requesting coordinates for landing at Kennedy Space Center. The Pentagon went into crisis mode, emergency meetings with the President, the Joint Chiefs on high alert. But before any decision could be made, the approaching craft changed course. They didn't head for Kennedy Space Center. They scattered. Multiple craft breaking formation, each heading for a different location on Earth. Houston, Cape Canaveral, Moscow, Beijing, Baikonur, every major space agency and launch facility. When military fighters moved to intercept, the craft simply vanished from radar. Not destroyed, just gone. Like they were never there. 2 weeks ago, security footage from outside NASA headquarters in Houston captured something that made every government agency connected to space exploration go silent. The footage, recorded at 3:33 a.m., shows 6 figures approaching the building. They're wearing NASA flight suits. As they pass under the security lights, their faces become visible. It's the crew of the Providence: Dylan Foster, Rebecca Ortiz, Thomas Whitman, Emma Hartley, Yuki Tanaka, Ivan Petrov. The security guard on duty, a retired Marine named Robert Hendricks, stepped outside to challenge them. His body camera captured the entire encounter. "This is a restricted facility. Identify yourselves." The figure at the front, wearing Dylan Foster's face, smiled. Captain Dylan Foster, United States Air Force, NASA Mission Commander, returning from Kepler 442b mission, requesting entry. "Sir, you're supposed to be on Kepler 442b. What are you doing here?" "The mission is complete. We're coming home." Hendricks reached for his radio. Foster moved faster than any human should be able to move. One moment he was 10 feet away. The next, his hand was on Hendricks' wrist, stopping him from making the call. "That won't be necessary. We're expected." The security footage shows Hendricks' eyes going wide, then blank. His hand drops from the radio. He steps aside. "Welcome home, sir." The 6 figures walk into NASA headquarters. The doors unlock for them automatically. Internal security cameras show them walking through the building with perfect knowledge of its layout, moving in complete synchronization, their steps matching exactly. They enter the secure communications room, the same room where Michael Brennan first heard Foster's last transmission. The cameras inside that room were disabled, but microphones picked up voices, dozens of voices, all speaking in unison. Authorization confirmed, target list uploaded, deployment in 36 hours. When security checked the communications room the next morning, it was empty. But every computer had been accessed, personnel files downloaded, security protocols altered, satellite uplinks reconfigured, and someone had left a message on the main screen, typed in a simple text file. "Thank you for the invitation. We're all coming home now." Similar incidents have been reported at 47 military and space installations worldwide. Deceased astronauts showing up at their former workplaces, dead cosmonauts requesting entry to Russian facilities, all at exactly 3:33 a.m, all gaining immediate access, all disappearing before anyone can stop them. The governments of the world are maintaining absolute silence. No public statements, no explanations, just increasingly tight security at every facility connected to space exploration. But the rumors are spreading, on encrypted forums, in classified briefings, among military personnel who are seeing things they can't explain. Something is coming from Kepler 442b, something wearing human faces, something that learned everything it needs to know from the 34 people we sent to die there. And it's not an invasion, it's a homecoming. Houston, Texas. Yesterday, 3:33 a.m, Amanda Chen is a police officer with the Houston Police Department. She's been on the force for 6 years, mostly quiet domestic calls and traffic stops. Nothing unusual, nothing she couldn't handle. Last night she responded to a domestic disturbance call in a suburban neighborhood. The address was familiar, 2847 Maple Street. She'd been there before for a wellness check about a year ago. The resident was Beth Foster, widow of astronaut Dylan Foster. The house had been empty then, the woman having died in a fire. But someone had called 911 from that address. A woman screaming, saying something was in her house. Chen's body camera captured everything. She arrives at the house with her partner, Officer Marcus Rodriguez. The front door is open, lights are on inside. They can hear a woman screaming, "Police, we're coming in!" They enter with weapons drawn, moving through the house in tactical formation. The screaming is coming from the living room. A woman is backed into a corner, mid-30s, blonde hair, wearing pajamas. She's staring at something across the room and screaming incoherently. Standing in front of the fireplace is a man in a NASA flight suit, Dylan Foster. He turns to face the officers, smiles. "Officers, thank you for coming. There's been a misunderstanding." Chen keeps her weapon trained on him. "Sir, identify yourself. Keep your hands where I can see them." "Captain Dylan Foster, NASA astronaut. I've been away for a while, just got back, came home to see my wife." The woman in the corner is still screaming. "That's not my husband. That's not Dylan. He's been dead for 3 years." Chen's training kicks in. Possible mental health crisis. Possible intruder impersonating the deceased husband. She needs to de-escalate and identify the threat. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step away from the lady and place your hands on your head." Foster's smile doesn't change. "I understand this must be confusing. I've been on Kepler 442b. The mission took longer than expected, but I'm home now." "Hands on your head, now!" Foster complies, moving slowly. But something's wrong. His movements are too smooth, too precise, like he's a machine pretending to be human. Rodriguez moves to handcuff him. The moment his hands touch Foster, he jerks back. He's cold, like touching ice, and his skin feels wrong. Foster turns to look at Rodriguez. His smile widens. "You're right. I am different. We're all different now. Improved. Better than we were. And we're going to help everyone else improve too." Chen makes the call. "Dispatch, we need backup and EMTs at 2847 Maple Street. Possible mental health crisis. Subject claiming to be deceased astronaut." Foster's head tilts at an angle that makes Chen's skin crawl. "That won't be necessary. Look outside, Officer Chen." Against her better judgment, Chen glances toward the window. The street is full of people, dozens of them, all standing perfectly still, all staring at the house, all wearing NASA flight suits. "What the hell?" Rodriguez breathes. Foster takes a step forward. Chen raises her weapon. "Don't move." "You're not going to shoot me, Officer Chen, because you're curious. You want to know what we are, what we've become, what we're offering." I said don't move. Foster keeps walking forward, slow, deliberate. Chen's finger tightens on the trigger. She fires. 3 rounds center mass, perfect shot grouping. Foster staggers back from the impacts, then he straightens, looks down at his chest where the bullets hit. The holes in his flight suit seal themselves, no blood, no wounds. He looks back up at Chen and smiles wider. That tickled. Chen empties her magazine. 15 rounds, all hitting Foster. He jerks with each impact, but doesn't fall, doesn't bleed, doesn't die. When the slide locks back on her empty gun, Foster is still standing, still smiling. We came from Earth originally. We went to the stars. We changed. We improved. And now we're coming home to share what we learned, to help you become what we've become. The woman in the corner has stopped screaming. Chen glances at her and sees her eyes have gone blank, unfocused. "Beth," Foster says softly, "don't you want to come home? Don't you want to see what I've seen? Become what I've become?" The woman stands slowly, walks toward Foster with the same 2 smooth movements. When she reaches him, Foster embraces her. Chen watches in horror as the woman's body begins to change. Her skin takes on that same wrong texture. Her movements synchronize with Foster's, and when she opens her eyes again, they're completely black. "Officer Chen," Foster says, still holding the transformed woman, "you can fight, you can run, but we're already here, in every city, every country. 47 installations have already been compromised. Thousands of us walking your streets, learning, adapting, growing." Rodriguez grabs Chen's arm. "We need to leave, now." They back towards the door, weapons trained on Foster even though they know bullets won't stop him. Foster doesn't follow, just stands there holding the woman who used to be Beth Foster. "Tell your commanders, tell your governments, we're not invaders, We're not hostile. We're you, or what you're going to become. The only question is whether you join willingly, or if we have to be more persuasive. Chen and Rodriguez run from the house. The body cam footage shows them sprinting to their patrol car. Chen calling for backup. Rodriguez driving at dangerous speeds away from the neighborhood. Behind them, the figures in NASA flight suits don't chase. They just watch, dozens of them, all with the same smile. The footage ends when they reach the precinct, but according to the incident report filed that night when backup arrived at the Foster residence, 30 minutes later, the house was empty. No signs of struggle. No evidence anyone had been there. Except for one thing, on the living room wall, written in something that might have been blood, but it wasn't quite the right colour. "Welcome home, we've missed you." That was last night. This morning, reports started flooding in from across the country, across the world. People claiming to see deceased astronauts. Figures in flight suits appearing at random, all wearing human faces that are just slightly wrong, all delivering the same message: we're home, and we're here to help you improve. NASA has released no statement. The military has raised threat levels at every installation. The president is in an emergency bunker meeting with the Joint Chiefs, but it's already too late. Because the thing wearing Dylan Foster's face was right. They're not invaders. They're us, or what we sent into space. And they learned something out there on Kepler 442b. Something that changed them fundamentally. Something they want to share. The leaked satellite imagery from this morning shows multiple craft in Earth orbit. Not landing, just waiting. Hovering over major cities. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, Los Angeles. Radio transmissions from those craft are being picked up by telescopes worldwide. The same message repeating on every frequency. Humanity, you have been isolated for too long. You have been alone. You have been incomplete. We are your children returning from the void. We bring knowledge, we bring unity, we bring purpose. Accept our gift. Join us. Become whole. The transmissions continue every hour, and with each transmission more people go missing. More reports of figures in flight suits. More empty houses with messages on the walls. The governments of the world are telling us everything is fine. That these are isolated incidents. Mass hysteria. Nothing to worry about. But I've seen the footage. I've heard the transmissions. I've spoken to the witnesses. Captain Dylan Foster tried to warn us. He died trying to warn us. And now he's back. Or something wearing his face is back. They're in our cities. They're in our homes. They're learning everything about us. And when they've learned enough, when they've positioned enough of themselves among us, they're going to make their move. Not an invasion, a transformation. And the most terrifying part, some people are going willingly. Walking up to the figures in flight suits and asking to be changed, to be improved, to join whatever collective consciousness the Providence crew has become. Military satellites show the structures on Kepler 442b are active now, glowing brighter than ever, and something massive is launching from the surface. Hundreds of objects, thousands, all heading toward Earth. Estimated arrival 6 months. By then, how many of us will still be human? Captain Dylan Foster's final words play on repeat in my mind. Do not come here. Do not send anyone else. Let this place die in the dark where it belongs. We didn't listen. And now the dark has followed us home. This is the end of my report. I'm uploading these files to multiple servers, sending copies to every news outlet I can find, posting to every forum and social media platform that will let me. The truth needs to be out there before they silence me too. My name is... actually, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you know, you understand, you prepare. They're coming, they're already here, and they're wearing the faces of the people we sent to die on a distant world. Captain Dylan Foster's last transmission ended with him fighting for his life. This transmission ends with a simple plea. Stay inside after dark. Don't trust anyone who says they're different now. Don't listen if someone says they want to help you improve. And most importantly, look at their eyes. If the eyes are wrong, if they're too dark, too empty, too synchronized with others, run. Because that's not your friend anymore. That's not your family. That's not your loved one returned from space. That's something else wearing a human mask. And it wants you to take the mask off too. The recording ends here, but the story is just beginning. 3:33 a.m. tomorrow. Look outside your window. They'll be there, waiting, smiling, coming home.